Hey everybody, this is Perch. Conversation about the X-Men for a minute. See if this fits for you. If you agree with this premise. Uh, the X-Men, of course, my favorite book from a very long
Like
time.
a
It's the
small
one I've
shelf
collected the
for
most
all
of
my stuffed
slash
animals.
all. It
It's
is
a
you know, I
small
have a lot
shelf
of
for all
great
your
memories,
stuffed
and
I
to
animals.
think
me,
the
if you're
bear
thinking
is either
about
gotta go in
one run of a
storage
comic book
or
that
in
I
the
love more
top of
than
ceiling
any other
storage
run,
on the bed.
it really is
Yeah.
that kind of
I don't have
X-Men.
any room for it.
Probably a little
That's not on
earlier.
the
It
floor
really
in
kind
my
of picked into
Yeah.
high gear when you had the Wolverine getting married to Mariko in 175, leading up through
The
Life Death,
dreaded
leading up to Trial of Magneto, you know, arrival of Rachel Summers, the mutant
And yeah, I'm
massacre,
not hanging on my ceiling. It's so
the
weird.
fall of the mutants over in
Yeah,
Dallas,
it'd probably be a
the
little bit weird at this point.
you know, basically
I'm just saying. Your mom is right.
Inferno in there.
Yeah, you missed that window.
After that, and kind of the, you know, up to
It's
reintegration. There are a
true
lot of
though.
good comics that came after that, but people talk about the X-Men and they're like, "Oh man, remember Age of Apocalypse?" Yeah, that was past when it was super cool for me. Still good. I mean, I enjoyed that series, but
Oh,
that
you
run,
gotta be kidding me,
which is a
bro.
long run. I mean, you're talking about close to 100 issues of comics that were just, you know, bangers for me. And you had Paul Smith, you had John
Oh,
Romita
need your card, bro.
Jr., you had Mark Silvestri, you had some Art Adams every now and then thrown in there in annuals. You had, you know, you had the arrival of Jim Lee, kind of during that time period. Just great comics, and I love that era, and I loved what that happened. But the X-Men of today, I struggle to love, and it's been that way for a while now. In fairness, I think for me, a lot of this started to go down when you had the, I don't know, the Grant Morrison run for me was kind of the start to the problems, not, you know, the great rebirth that, you know, was for some people. And by the way, I'm not discounting that there are people who absolutely love, you know, that run and love what Grant Morrison did. In many ways, I felt like Joss Whedon understood the assignment better than Grant. And I say that because, well, it's my premise I'm about to give you. Since that time, you've had like an explosion of mutants, meaning you've had so many new characters. It has become now standard practice that when a new writer comes onto the series, they immediately introduce as many new characters as they possibly can. Why do they do this? You know, there's there's an easy answer of like, well, you know, they're trying to create some new IP that they can get royalties off of, and you know, they want to see on movies and everything else. But I think it's actually more habit than anything else. It is, are you going to write the X-Men? All right, going to have to introduce some new characters. And it's like, you know, we walked through the Claremont time of, hey, I'm going to introduce, you know, Rogue. I'm going to introduce Gambit. I'm going to introduce some, you know, daughter of Scott and Jean from the future, in Rachel. I'm going to introduce Cable. That wasn't all Claremont, by the way, but in that time period, like, okay. And then at some point, it's like, I'm going to introduce a girl with reindeer antlers. I'm going to introduce a half skull, half girl. I'm going to introduce a brain floating in a jar. I'm going to introduce a glob of pink goo. I'm going to introduce a bird guy. You know, at some point, you know, and Joe Casey, I love you to death. Maybe you introduced Stacy X, so maybe it's all you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But there's become this, let's introduce characters. And if you look at the new run, you've got Jed McKay, you've got Eve Ewing, you've got Gail Simone, and what is true of all three of their titles? A ton of new characters that have come out with, you know, a variety of powers. There's a girl with a horse. You know, there is a, I'm not just picking on that. There's a guy with weird shit coming out of his back. There is, you know, an autistic girl with space buns. You know, we've got just.
I told you she is.
The problem
Celery.
to me, and this may hit hard if you're a comic fan. The problem to me is the X-Men has fallen into the trap of the Legion
As
of
the kids
Superheroes.
say nowadays,
Another title,
today,
by the way,
today's kids,
but the runs of that I
cooking.
love are the ones where they
Cooking,
really
Mom.
focused
You
on
let her
a
cook.
core group of characters. Yes, the other characters
Cook.
out there was a legion. It wasn't just, you know, a team of three, but still the comic had enough good sense to focus on a relatively small group. And I love the 5 years later time period because it took that focus even more extreme. It,
Yeah,
it
I
showed us
can
what happened to some of
see,
these characters, but
especially
really
now in my
it narrowed
experience,
the
I
people who
can
were on the
see why a
page
lot
to
of
the point
those
that you had a
education
a
guys and
core
those
core
church
group
guys came
that
up
you could
with what
cheer
they
for,
did
that you could get behind, that you could
about a stable
figure out and
environment,
move with. And it didn't
given the
concern itself
calendar,
with let's introduce a new
what
character every two
what we
issues.
grew up
Let's
like. Yeah,
let's
they
just
they
kind of throw
seem
things
to
out.
those
Because the
kids
problem you
seem
have
to
with the X-Men
thrive, dude.
today, and I can say this as,
Certain
this is a problem
environments,
even back in
certain
like
even when they
2017. I
get
remember being
traumatized or
in the
not
shop
traumatized,
and
but
people are coming in
when
and they're
things are
like,
different and all that.
how should I
But as
start
long
the
as they
X-Men?
get back on
I always
schedule
find it,
and
by the
back
way, a little
on,
funny when
they
people are
even seem to
asking
like that.
somebody who works in a
Like
comic shop. So where should I begin?
probably because when it goes
The
back,
answer is
they
issue
like it
one
going
is where
back
you
to
should begin,
normal.
by the
As
way.
long
Now,
as
I
it
do
goes
realize
back
that's
to
complex. Like,
normal,
which issue one? It's like
I
the
think that
one
just
that's the earliest
increases
in
the
time,
sense of
issue one. That's a
security
good place to
almost.
start. There are other answers like, well, you could pick it up when, you had the blue and gold era. You could do,
So
you
yeah, you
got
go on
other ways you could
vacation for
answer
a
that
week or
question. But
two, and
the
everything's
real
weird
the
and
real answer is issue
funny,
one.
and they
Yeah, the
feel, but then
60s.
they get back
That
home,
means you're going to go through a bunch of kind of cringy
it's
shit
their
for some of that time
bed, and
period,
it's
but
their
that's the right place
sheets, and
because
it's
that's the
their,
beginning. You should start at the
and
beginning.
then they get back
I
to
it is it the
whatever
analogy,
schedule
and by
they're.
the way, I've had fierce arguments about this
So
too. It'd be like,
I
hey, where
those
should I
kids
start
seem to
reading
thrive on
Lord of the Rings? It's like, you should start.
it's
You
not
should
like they
start
just
after they
made it
leave the
up.
cave for the first time, like, and they,
Like it
Gandalf
happened
falls,
from them
into a
raising
pit. You just
kids.
skip all that and just start there because that's a good place.
Yeah, those
Like,
kids like a
what?
calendar, dude.
That doesn't make any sense.
Believe it or
Anyway,
not, I know it sucks, but
yeah, I could go on and on with this
they
analogy.
like
Like, you're like, hey, where should I
calendar, they
start with
like
Star Wars? And
schedules.
the answer is Star
They like
Wars
to
Episode
bitch
4.
about it, but they
The one in the
still like
70s,
it,
that one.
dude.
That's where you start.
No, that's what
But better
the
be like,
kids
hey,
in
you
the
should start with
class are
season 2,
like,
episode 4 of The Mandalorian. That's the best place to start.
like,
What
no,
are you talking about?
even
Anyway,
my age
um,
kids,
but
you know what I mean?
the
That are
challenge
older,
is if you're coming to
like,
the X-Men
it's like,
now and you pick it up,
no,
the logical
they like
question for a newbie
everything
or
to
somebody
make
who's into
sense
comics
in
reading
their
is
world.
like,
They like
okay,
everything to
who's the team? They got to
happen
get their head
just the
around
way
who
you
are the
tell them
people
it's
that
going
I
to
am
happen
reading.
every day.
And if the
And yeah,
answer
they
is,
can get a little like,
well,
oh,
there's
that's assembly,
500
oh, this,
characters here,
but in all
and
reality, they
we've got
really don't
8
like it
that we're focusing on right now,
when things get
and
too
3 of them
crazy. Like,
have
it
backstories
puts
that
them in an
date 5
instability
decades,
thing.
and
Like,
3 of them were
like
introduced 2
even
issues
today,
ago,
they like
and one
sprung
of them
this
is about to
that
die. And it's like,
assembly Sydney was
what
talking about.
it doesn't
The
that's not how
their
people digest
specials.
comics. And
Like,
it is one of the reasons why you see
it was the same
sales
with my
slipping.
kids.
And
Like,
by the
okay,
way, I've heard this argument of like, no, there's a new audience. There's a bunch of normies. There's a new audience, and
but you know,
Make sure
they're
you put
into
it
this
up.
stuff, and
I
there's new
locked the
characters they can
car.
relate
Yep.
to from
we're
the
not
beginning.
going to
Yeah, except
specials
there's no
first thing.
evidence that's true.
What?
If you look at the sales, if you look at
And
where
then
things are
like,
placed,
we're gonna
there
stay
is
here,
no
and then I'll take
evidence
you to
that there's been a
specials at
surge of new readers.
8:30,
And if
and
you
we're
go
gonna do
online to one of the
specials.
pirate sites and you look at the
Yeah, make sure
comments,
the key's
you will
locked.
see basically
We make
comments
sure the
from
car's
only
locked.
existing older readers like, where the hell is what happened to Strife? It's like you get
But
comments like that. You get some people going, and
like, and there
legitimately, you
was
can look
even
at the
one kid that
newest
was like,
issue of the
and
X-Men
he's a smart
at the
kid.
time of this recording.
He's like,
You can go to the comments of one of the big pirate sites,
so
and the comments are,
we're not going
I
to
tried reading X-Men for the
specials.
first time. WTF is
And I'm
this?
like,
I don't
at
understand who any of these
8:30
people
you're
are.
going to specials, but
Which
it's gonna be
is
an
reasonable
assembly.
if you're a new
And you
reader,
know,
but
and like,
how do you
no,
even
and like
go back and digest? It is the
Instantly
easiest
start that.
superheroes
What the?
problem. There are so many
and they're like,
characters,
Did you?
no,
and
they
there's
don't
such
like it.
fluidity
They do
Yeah.
not
to the
What?
team
like it.
makeup and who is in the book
Their stuff off.
that it makes virtually no sense. Once upon a time, the idea of shifting the leadership, in this case, shifting it from Cyclops to Storm, was a big freaking
And little
deal.
kids, first
Like,
grade
that
kids,
was
you gotta
something they
prep them.
led up to. It was a monumental
I
moment.
gotta
That
warn him.
shit on
Yeah.
The
You
passing of the
cannot
torch.
spring
Cyclops
That's
had more or
funny.
less
They're
been the
not
leader
reasonable
for
like
200
that.
issues.
Like,
Occasional
we
breaks in
need
there,
some warning.
and they had definitely been doing a
Yeah,
really
we need
great
some
job of
evidence.
building up Storm as a natural leader. The people who were reading the
True.
book at that time were like, well, of course Storm's
But
the
yeah,
leader
I can
because,
see how
she's
stuff came to
been
be.
putting in the work, and
Really.
it's like, they've been
Because it
building
works.
this
It
character up,
works.
Right.
to lead. And Cyclops has been
Yeah,
leading
that's
for a
how we
long
got to
time, but he's
communism.
disillusioned at this point.
Yeah.
No,
He's
that
trying to start his new life,
scientifically,
but
it got
he
too
doesn't really want
scientific.
to. So
That's
it's,
what communism is.
they're-
Basically,
he's
someone
he's
said
having
that one
to
time, and it's
do
a
what's
pretty
right
good.
for
It's
Madeline.
basically
Anyway, you got a
Christianity
bunch of
without
things in
Christ.
Yeah.
there.
That's why the
And
church was so
that was a
against
major moment.
communism and all that, because it was
Today,
basically,
they will relaunch
like
an
take
X-Men title
Christianity and
after,
make
say,
it
12 issues,
scientific.
and it's like, you'll never
Mhm.
guess who's
I
leading
think
now.
half,
Blob
you know,
Woman.
roughly.
It's like,
Yeah,
what?
that's
It when they
Marxism or
transitioned Magneto
communism.
to being a,
Mm-hmm.
Charles tried to redeem him and he came into the fold and he tried being a leader. They spent a lot of time on, like, am I a leader? I don't know. I'm not good at this. And the New Mutants were like, fuck you, old man. And there's just a lot of effort put in. And now it's like Sage and Beast are leading a team because they're clever and whatever, and we're gonna try that for a while. What if Wolverine was a professor? Like it's so random
That's the stupidest shit ever.
that you've taken away the element of comics that is its
Wolverine
most
being a
powerful tool, which is the
professor. I mean,
consistency
maybe,
and
but I just know.
the ability to kind of tell this ongoing story. And instead, it's just a shotgun blast of whatever every time you open the issue with, 500 characters and counting. It's like, I mean, look, we're going to come out of Age of Revelation, this new series, and it is going, you're going to get, relaunched books, and there's going to be a whole host of new characters that you're seeing for the first time. And the expectation for readers is, hey, it's got the X-Men logo on here, dummy, so read it. You have to read this book because we're telling you to. So it's got the X-Men logo on it. Yeah, you don't know, half these characters, but shut up. This is what the X-Men has always been. Who cares? But it's not. If you look at the X-Men lineup from issue 1 to issue, say, 250, yes, new members came into the team, but at a frequency much slower. The writers at the time during that run made a point to make sure they stuck the landing. When Havoc Polaris came into the team, they made sure to really explain why, who they were, how they were different, how they fit in, how they didn't fit in. When I think Claremont, when he did the more jarring, like, all new, all different X-Men, it's like introducing Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm. I think a lot of people misunderstood what was happening there. First, the X-Men had been on hiatus doing reprints for a decent amount of time before that issue came out. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, Claremont then paused and spent a significant amount of time explaining who these characters were, how they fit, how Cyclops fit with them, what was different about them. He built up the characters. When I say a significant amount of time, I'm talking 100 issues plus. If you look at the X-Men lineup between, giant size, all new, all different X-Men and X-Men 200, you did have a couple new characters. You did get the introduction of Rachel Summers. You did get the introduction of Kitty Pryde. You got Magneto. Well, he was already in the book, but you had him come in. You had Rogue, but you didn't have much more than that. We're talking 100 issues. We're talking nearly 10 years, and you had less than 10. I think less than 5, if I'm being honest with you. Somebody's there like, what about Dazzler? No, I mean, no. Dazzler did not come in that run. Came in later. There was an issue with Dazzler in it. That is true. But anyway, you see my point here a little bit. It's they took time to introduce these characters, and yeah, Chris Claremont introduced a bunch of new characters at once. But then he took a very long time to sell it and to explain it. And plus, it was a moment in time where it made sense to do that. The reason why Age of Apocalypse, I think, worked for a lot of people is it felt very foreign, very different. Suddenly, the X-Men books are canceled. We're in a hellscape future. The X-Men that have been warped and changed significantly, and we're learning how and why. And then they introduced a handful of new characters in there to kind of help flesh out this world. Some good, some bad. You had Blink, which was cool. You had Sugarman, and so it felt unique and novel. I read the first issue I got an advanced copy of the Age of Revelation comic, and it's like it doesn't hit the same because the readers are already getting all new, all different, like every couple months. And so it's like, oh, it's a completely different world, and Cyclops has a beard now, and I mean, the world's all grass. I mean, okay. It just,
Oh, that's
it doesn't land.
the one I'm already
It's a
wearing.
reason why that Ten of Swords
Where's that
crossover
torch?
that Hickman and Teeny did, I also think doesn't land because you bring it up and it's like, here's a new mythology, a new planets and dimension, and here's 50 characters and a new status quo, and it's like, all right. You can give the readers a lot, and the readers are not dumb. They can adapt to it, but readers also like to come to love something. It's why if you go to a football game, if the players were different every single game, yeah, you have people who are going to show up to cheer, the Cowboys, God help them. But they like to cheer for players. They like to get behind individuals as much as they get behind the team. And the X-Men, there is a core group of characters. If you launched a book today and you said, all right, in this book, we're going to really steer into that classic team, that team from issue 100 to 200. We're going to have Storm. We're going to have Nightcrawler. We're going to have Colossus. We're going to have Cyclops.
It's Minecraft.
We're going to really build around that group of people. And then, don't invent a brand new character, but put a bunch of a couple lesser known characters. Maybe throw Gambit in there, fine, throw Rogue in there. But
that might be kind of
and
cool.
they're not lesser known. But you take my somebody's going to bitch about that.
Mhm.
Anyway, you take that
Yeah.
group and just let it cook for 2 years.
Yeah.
Let them have big adventures as that team. Go in with the core marketable team and go for it. And don't try and get silly with, what I need to do
Yeah,
is
you gotta mark
introduce
that
50 new characters.
Let's
Just
see
let
if I've slimmed
it
down
run.
enough for this woman.
I think that, one, you'd have a good selling comic book, but you'd also gain back a lot of these readers that, frankly, are just exhausted and confused. Anyway, that's my premise. What do you think? I think they've got the Legion of Superhero problem at this point. They've got way too many characters. They randomly check in on them all the time, and you just can't tell which way is up.
Dude, how
Thanks for
much
listening.
muscle do I have to lose, bro? How do I get my sex appeal up? I just put on fresh clothes. I don't want to go around collecting more oysters. Good God, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen,
No, this has been hours trying to lose this muscle, dude. For this one girlfriend to invest, like real world investment to get this. And it was set up that way. They made me fucking chunk up. Made me super fat to get one girl. Remember me how fat I was? And now not only do I gotta get skinny, then I gotta lose all my muscle.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
No, it's taken a long time, dude. I've all day today.
It seems like half
All
the
a
internet
whole
effectively just
fucking
died.
real
Now,
day.
ladies and gentlemen, for anybody that doesn't know, this is Down Detector. Down Detector.
No, now you
is
know
one of
what?
those
You can sell
websites
this shit.
where the moment you see
You're
these
literally, they're
massive blips and
taking
spikes,
virtual
whoa.
time and
It seems
transferring
like most
into
of the
real
internet
time.
decided
That's
to go
real
take a
time,
shit,
dude.
all the way
That's
from McDonald's to the Adobe Creative Cloud, which is still pooping itself.
all right, but
And
yeah,
of
that's a little
course, even
frustrating, dude. How much
organizations like
muscle do I have to
Electronic
lose?
Arts. And of course, if you're some
Okay.
groomer sitting on Kick, well, you're going to have to hold off on your illegal activities
All right.
because it seems like there's one common
And it won't let
flag
me
for this.
exercise because I'm
Ladies and
hungry.
gentlemen, that
Anyways,
is
I'm sure it's a big meta.
AWS, Amazon Web Services. Yeah, Amazon
And yeah,
Web
it's a
Services,
girl.
their
So,
largest data center, US
I mean, it's
East
a video
1,
game.
decided to take a little bit of a
Can't
shit. And I mean
complain.
a little bit of a shit. A very tiny,
It's literally a
tiny
video
nugget of
game.
poo
So,
left this actual thing
see
to
where we're
ask,
at
and the
now.
ripple
I'm
it
gonna
caused
collect
to smooth and make the
oysters. Am I
entire
gonna
toilet
collect, or am I
bowl
just
that
gonna
is the
finish the
internet
game?
effectively
I might just
coughed
give
some
up on this
massive
last
outage,
girlfriend.
to the point that
Finish
it's
the
still
game.
happening right now as I actually film this. So the reason I'm making this video is because I kind of want to explain the technical nature of this, and also, somebody that talks a lot about self-hosting and somebody that talks a lot about user privacy. A lot of the internet, back in the day, used to be people would download their web servers, host the internet themselves,
What are you gonna
and
do
it
there,
was,
Drex?
not really an expensive endeavor. I mean, it was expensive for the time, but as the internet evolved and became this place where people upload 4K videos, fuck around with AI
No, I really
slop,
don't want to go
have
around
like just
collecting
gigabytes
fucking
and gigabytes of
38
information
more
being
oysters,
generated
dude,
every
on the
single
map.
day by one single
No, that's
user, and then
hours. That's at
extrapolate
least an
that to the
hour,
world
probably
that
a
is
solid
becoming
hour
more
or two. I
rapidly
was doing it at
connected.
Starbucks.
Yeah,
That
the
was an
internet's an
hour.
expensive thing to run, okay?
I
It's
think
a
I collected
really
10,
expensive bitch. To the point
around
that
10 of
there's
them,
not really a lot
15
of
maybe.
companies that exist out there
And
that
there's
hold
50
the
of them, so
backbone of the
it's
internet.
a couple
To give you
few
an
hours
idea,
of
there's
real
so few
time,
companies
just
that
grind,
control the
just
internet that
pure
it actually will shock you. For instance, when
video
it comes
game
to,
grind,
the
dude.
percentage of ownership,
To
it's something like
oof.
Microsoft holds like 20% of the internet,
So,
and
and
Google
I've been running
controls
around.
like
It
an
said,
eighth
the
of the
faster
full
you
amount of
run,
the
the more
internet.
muscle I should
Amazon
lose,
is
but
by
it
far
doesn't
one of the
seem
largest. They
to
control about 1/3 of the cloud infrastructure
help a
market.
whole lot.
Now, imagine one company
So we'll see.
basically holding up a
I guess I
third
should
of
just
the
gotta
internet.
I
Now, I
remember
think a lot of
starving to
people
death
really
one
just
time.
take for
Yeah,
granted
so I
whenever
just
it
gotta
goes
let it sit
down,
here and
but that
idle.
can be
I
pretty
guess
goddamn catastrophic. Apparently, all of
just
the
walk
people
away
out
from
there,
it, and
all
let
of
it
the
fucking
analysts,
idle till.
have been saying that today's outage
And then
could
what
literally
sucks is
reach
then
a
it's gonna make me
hundred,
do all
like
the weights
hundreds
to
of
get my
billions of
character
dollars
then
of
back to the way I
damages. At
want him
least I
to
don't really
be
have a
before I
reason to
quit the
dispute
fucking
that. The
game.
amount of
I'm
services
gonna have
that
to
got
grind
taken
some
down by
more. I'm gonna have to go
Amazon,
back to the gym,
AT&T, Canva, Coinbase,
and you
Delta
only can work
Airlines.
out so
You know how much
much
it
each
sucks
day.
ass to fly on a plane?
So
Just
it's
imagine, usually I do
dismantling all
fly
the
back
work
home
I
on
did in the
Mondays. I can
beginning of
only
the
imagine how
game, getting
pissed it would be if
CJ.
Delta Airlines wasn't functioning because of an Amazon
No,
bucket.
it was
It
funny. I was
really takes me
listening to
back to my
Jeff today, and he
class,
was
right?
talking. It was
When
some about
it went down,
GTA.
immediately the airline companies were like,
It
"Holy
came
shit,
up,
boys, we are." I mean, you
and
read those damages add up. You got Disney Plus,
it was
Facebook,
something, and someone
Flickr,
had made a
Fortnite,
statement
Hulu,
about,
McDonald's,
rock
Perplexity,
stars treat
PlayStation,
people
and
like family, or
Roblox.
they always say it's
Even
something like
Signal,
family.
yes, people who were
And he's like,
assuming
well,
that
you need to
Signal, the
ask
actual
yourself, would they
privacy
treat
messaging
members of their
application,
family
it
like
still
this?
required, I
And
guess,
it's like,
Amazon Web
well,
Services
the
to
developers
function
of
in the
that
background, which is a
era of
little bit of a
Rockstar
new thing for
games,
me
of
to kind of
GTA,
realize, but it
yeah,
made
they probably
sense. Okay,
would
even
treat their
services
family
like
like
YouTube
that.
were kind of hit into, and you might be like,
So
why
no, I'm not
YouTube?
the only one that
Why Google, of
recognizes,
all
like,
things, don't have
fuck,
their own
dude,
data
like,
centers? Look, the internet is incredibly expensive, and there's a lot of
fuck,
intermingling that
man.
goes on between these organizations. And
Uh-huh.
this breaking led to
No,
the
they
point where, like,
probably
if you
are
go on Reddit,
dicks,
for
dude.
instance,
Maybe
even
not, but yeah,
now,
that's
you'll
pretty
notice that there
dickish,
are
dude.
tons of "we encountered an error" depending on where you live. Because, yeah, the website is having an issue loading up because there's still problems.
No,
Even
I'm
for
sitting here.
Fortnite,
How
like,
stupid I
literally,
am.
some kid playing last night was going, "Why can't I connect to
How
Fortnite?" And
stupid I
that's
am for loving
literally
you.
because Amazon Web
How stupid
Services
I
was
am for
keeping this shit
loving
running. Yeah,
you.
live services don't
Oh,
seem
hey,
that great. Now, remember back in the day
she's
when
laughing at
the main server
me.
went down, you could just goddamn
They're
play
laughing at
on
all of
local area
us.
networks? That used to be a time.
Fuck,
So according to Amazon,
bro.
obviously this is their issue, and if you reload this
Fuck,
page,
dude.
it's still pretty damn degraded. If you
So,
look at the amount of affected AWS services, you might as well throw the whole ass bucket into it. Everything is impacted. 105 services. The VMs are gone. The billing console is down.
so,
The VPNs are gone. I love it when the mouse gets this big. It makes me so happy. But of course, what doesn't make me happy is when they talked about what happened. So immediately when the nuke dropped, they said, we're investigating increased error rates, and they mentioned U.S. East 1 region. Now, U.S. East 1 is the largest AWS region, and in fact,
wait,
it's so
now my
large
sex appeal
that
is
people
full?
tap into
What,
this
because it's
region.
nighttime?
And
Let's
because
see if that has
other
a...
data
No,
centers
it's
tap into
almost full. It
U.S.
went
East
almost
1, when
full.
issues start here, they
Let's see, she might
cascade
still say
into
no.
other regions as well, too. So at some point down the road, they had started to say the potential root cause was something in the DynamoDB APIs.
No, that doesn't.
Based on
Sex
their
appeal didn't matter.
investigation, the issue
Unless it's
appears
at
to be related
100%,
to
I guess.
DNS
Oh, and then it just went
resolution.
down.
So yes,
Okay,
the
I don't
DNS,
know
for
what's
anybody that
happening right
doesn't know, is basically how computers translate
now. And then it
IP
changed again.
addresses,
My sex
or
appeal
not
is
IP addresses,
changing
sorry,
as
they
I move.
translate human readable
Like,
addresses into the machine readable addresses.
what
So
the
when you go
fuck?
to the URL bar, do you type in the words google.com or do you type in 142.250.191.164? You probably don't know this off the top of your head, but you do know Google. So when you go into a URL bar and you type in Google,
Okay.
you send that request and it effectively resolves through a DNS server into the IP address that the browser
Yeah, I'm not
the
sexy
computer
in this
needs
part of
in
town.
order to interact
I'm
with
sexy
the world,
across
right?
the
That's just
street.
how it works. Now, because of this little
right.
tiny nugget of an issue,
Babies.
this problem where, again, the DNS wasn't resolving,
Maybe
it
still
basically
too fast.
cascaded into issues
Yeah.
because
No, you should
connecting
come over. I
services
don't.
became
You
a
don't
huge
pick up.
issue. Now, even as of right now, what they
Yeah.
said was their mitigations
No, my
to
sex appeal
resolve
meter bar
large volumes
literally,
for
as I
low
approach her,
EC2
it goes from
instances are
almost all the way
progressing, and the
full to
internal
like a little over.
subsystems are now showing early signs
I don't know if
of
that's
recovery
her
with
making that do
few
that
availability
or.
zones in the U.S. East 1 region.
Yeah,
So we still got a
No,
little bit of a
it
ways to
is
go.
weird.
Things are not
Yeah.
entirely up
Who
and up.
knows?
But obviously, these guys have worked pretty tirelessly
So
throughout
I
the
guess
past
it
to keep
means I'm
this
feeling
going.
sexy
Now,
until I
look, at
approach
the end
her.
of the day,
And then it's
I
like,
think the core point of this video,
I'm not
at
feeling
least
so
what I want to
sexy
talk about, is
until
that the
I
internet is truly fragile. You know, literally a week ago, I showed you the
No, it
common
is. It's
Perplexity
I get on this
browser,
side of town.
and what was interesting was
I'm not
Perplexity
sexy
was
anymore.
one of the services that was
Huh.
affected by this, right? The AI that everyone, I guess,
Let's see.
taps into. Imagine for a second the browser that you download that browses the internet
Chicky.
shittily at the moment, mind you, in my opinion. Imagine because Amazon had a little bit of a fucking nugget of poo that left. As soon as that hits the toilet, the main feature of your web browser takes the
It's my
fucking
car.
shit.
It's
Now,
my
it's not really
car.
the biggest deal in the world
It
because
was
if
my
half of
car.
the internet's going through an outage, I mean, you
It
might
was the
as well
car.
just wait
Okay.
because
Okay.
what's the
It's the
point of
car. Car
agentic
makes a
web
difference, dude.
browsing when half the internet
What
gets
car you
fucking
drive? Okay.
taken down? An AI that shops?
When I got
Not
too
on
far away from my car,
Amazon.com,
my
that's for
sex appeal
sure.
dropped.
At least right now. Now, again, it really is kind of shocking because obviously there are some commenters on a lot of these websites that kind of say it's the canary in the coal mine. Your data is not as secure as you think it is. It never really was secure, pal. Maybe Bezos should have spent the 50 million plus he spent on his wedding on internet security. Again, this person still doesn't know how vastly expensive the
So I
internet
need
is.
like an
And I would say
expensive.
$50 million is
Yep.
probably, I don't know. You know, looking at the scale of it, I don't even think 50 million is going to put a dent in making this better.
See,
It's
that
not really
helps.
even
Yep.
like
I
a
need a car.
security thing.
Okay.
It was the fact that, you know,
I
a
need an
little bit of an
expensive
issue
car.
with the DNS resolver caused this problem, right? It really doesn't even seem
Which
to be
makes
like a
sense.
security or a cyber attack. It's
Something
just
like that.
a problem happened, a little bit of an issue happened that cascaded into the internet basically going down for a few hours. So somebody said signal was down. Good thing we didn't have any ongoing airstrikes. You know, the thing about signal being down is pretty important to me because signal is kind of how I communicate with a lot of my friends since we have cross-platform devices and it's just the best communication platform for us. For it to be down like this was probably one of the toughest things. Like just being cut off from your friends immediately for a few hours just kind of sucks. You know, when you have to go back to the old landline calling method, it really just shows the true fragility of the internet. So again, it's not really about the internet going down. It's not really even about like, you know, your favorite video game going down. It's just a stark reminder of how reliant we are on literally a few companies in the world to keep the entire internet propped up for the rest of us, right? You know, you could be living in the middle of like Thailand, for instance, right? Because an American company's like fucking server region goes down, your issues start. You start getting
Guys,
issues
you
that
can't
span
hit.
to you
No.
because
Oh
of, again,
my
how interconnected
God.
and fragile these big data centers really are. You know, Amazon controls a third of the internet, so when issues like this happen, it really
Holy
is
shit,
damaging for small
dude.
businesses, for big businesses, for just really anybody in
It
general.
just death
And look,
trapped me,
if
dude.
there's any time for you to start
I wonder where I'm
hosting your
saved at.
own search
Where
engines,
the
your
fuck
own
is this
AIs,
saved?
your
I'm
own
out, dude.
servers,
Okay, we're done for the.
this
It
might really
just
be
death
it. You
trapped
know,
me.
this might really be the thing
Cop hit
because,
me
you
from
know, who wasn't
behind,
affected?
knocked my
You know, people who had
motorcycle
their
in a
own
fucking circle.
AIs
There was
running. You know,
another cop
yesterday,
standing on the sidewalk,
I showed
arrested
you
me
guys how to
instantly,
run
busted.
artificial intelligence
All
locally
my
on your
weapons
system. Like here,
gone,
I'm
all
running
my
open weight
shit
models.
gone,
And even though that I have used
and the
my
cop
own
hit
search engine,
me
Seer XNG, my
with
own
his.
instance to connect, I literally can do internet
Sounds
web
like he's
searches and
boring.
AI stuff, again,
What
locally on
the
my system,
fuck? No, we were
as opposed
just
to some of
talking
the nerds
about.
who log into perplexity.com or whatever other AI service that is ultimately back-ended through Amazon
No, I
and
just
just have
restarted. Dude,
lost
what
access
the
to whatever
fuck?
they paid for
It's all right.
simply
That's
because
video game.
Amazon
I
went down. You
hit
know, people who are
on the
playing their
slot
favorite
machine.
little
I hit
video
zero
game that doesn't
zeros,
need
and
to be
they just,
connected on
you're
the internet
dead.
now
You're going to
realize that
jail.
even if you have the
The
best
fuck,
possible
dude?
internet connection and services in the world,
All right,
you will
I'm
never
done.
be
That,
immune to when Amazon has a tiny
that's a
little
signal.
shit. And I'm not even
That's a
entirely
sign
blaming
right there
Amazon for this.
to leave the casino, right? No, let's get your shit, baby. Get your shit. We're out.